Good evening. I'm Lisa Feeley, your host for An Accountable Catholic. And tonight we have a really fun guest all the way from Las Vegas, and I'll introduce him in a second. But, really we need to make sure, and we're going to discuss today, accountability with a little bit of a different twist, because tonight's topic is why we should be concerned with our health and how our health plays into us living our purpose and really doing God's work here on earth, and more importantly here in our country, to how we really help everybody out, right? And if we're not in good health and we're not taking care of ourselves, then obviously it's much more difficult to be an accountable American or an accountable Catholic and Christian. So tonight joining me, a brand new friend of mine, but I've really enjoyed getting to know you, Paul. Paul Epstein's coming to us all the way from Las Vegas. He is CEO and founder of Health 6 Fit, and he is just an incredible innovator, a thought leader, a healthcare guru. And we're going to have you start out shortly, just introduce yourself and tell a little bit background, and then I'm going to have you go into your deeper journey, Paul. So welcome. Thank you for joining us here on our show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here and to be with you and your audience.
Well, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got into doing all the fun stuff you've done in your life. You've had a really incredible journey.
Well, in a nutshell, I would say that the work that I do in my life comes from the experiences that I have personally. And in my last business, I helped just over 1 million people change their lives in career development. When back in 2000, the internet boom went bust, the economy went down, and I sat around thinking about what I could do to help. And usually what two things happen: people's credit starts going bad, and then they start looking at alternatives to change their careers. And having had my own personal experience in that many years ago, a great experience, I decided that I would take that experience from the real world and create something on the internet to help people with career change. And thus we built an amazing website. We hired a lot of interns who were studying for career change, and we matched them up. We gave tests. We did a really great job. We spoke to millions of people over a 5-year period. And as such, we were basically helping these folks with their careers. And ultimately, we found ourselves helping them find the right colleges, universities, trade schools, career schools. And we placed them. And as a result, over that 5-year period, we placed about 1 million people, and to the equivalent of about $40 billion in student loans that we helped them arrange as well.
Wow. You're touching a lot of lives. You're going to have to help us now. That's pretty unique. And then you went into a healthcare company, so that's a little different. What made you kind of move over to the healthcare side?
Well, the funny part of this is that I was in such a frenzy in building the company and doing so much intensely that it basically gave me some heart problems. And, it was as a result of that stress that I was in, but also something that was genetic that eventually caught up with me. I had to sell the company, and I found that I had a 90% blockage in my main artery. They stented it. And then as a result, the doctor said to me, because I was so extreme in my athletics, that I caused the problem that way. And I disagreed with him, of course.
Wow. Yeah.
And he basically said there was nothing I could do. So I said that I don't take that as an answer. I went home and I started looking on the internet, and I said, I'm going to find a solution to this. And it took me 2 years to do so. And basically I found out that my heart disease was controllable. I could do something, because 38% is genetic and the other 62% is lifestyle. So I found a doctor who was a specialist in functional and integrative medicine, and he helped me with a protocol that within 3 months saved my life. And I started seeing a huge difference. So did my friends. I started helping them at the gym and around me and my community.
That's great.
And then
so, Paul, I'm gonna make you back up a little, though, for those of us that aren't healthcare experts or anything. When you say I found this person who's in functional and integrative medicine, I've heard that term as well. Can you explain a little bit more to our listeners how that's different from your wonderful doctor who was telling you, hey, too bad, Paul, this is what it is?
I'd love to, and it brings such great emotion to me when I think about it, because if I would have listened to that doctor, I would not be sitting here today. And functional and integrative medicine seeks to get to the root cause of a problem. It's holistic, which most doctors are trained allopathically according to the American Medical Association standards. When a doctor graduates from residency, usually they get their information from the pharmaceutical industry, and they follow a very strict path of symptomatic relief. It's more about chronic therapy instead of solutions that will solve the problem. The medical industry cannot make money by solving sick people. They make money by putting them on medicine and keeping them there. It's actually sick care. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about sick care, because we don't have to fall prey to that any longer. We have an opportunity to change that. And what I found is that functional and integrative therapies focus on a holistic approach where they get to the root cause and solve the problem. Now, you're not going to cure it in all cases, but you're going to get better control over it. And in some cases, though, you can reverse it. You can even prevent it.
Wow.
And there's some very simple things that people can do, and we're going to talk about that today.
No, that's perfect. That is exactly where I want to go. So, as you know, I wrote a book on accountability. And to me, a big part of being accountable has to be taking care of our own health, right? It's very much, I like to liken it to personal finance too, because if you're not budgeting and you're not paying attention to what you're buying, you go underwater really quick. Well, if you're not eating the right things, you're not exercising, and you and I chatted about this. I'd love for you to share too how your program and everything you're doing, Paul, helps with mental health. Because today I've never seen such statistics, and they're actually very sad statistics, where 80+% of young adults are seeking mental health. And I think, well, someone say, well, Lisa, that's not very nice. It's good that they're seeking mental health. That's true, and I understand that, but not to the level they are, and not 80+%. I mean, when you and I were growing up, while that might have been too extremely low at maybe 5 or 6%, we went the whole other way because of all the divisiveness and I think really crazy stuff going on in our country right now. So talk to us a little bit about how your organization and what you're doing, Paul, with everyone you're working with helps on both mental health and your physical health, I guess. I'd love to hear a little bit more about Health Six Fit and what you're trying to do.
Absolutely, I'd love to. And the comments you made are very loaded comments because it's rampant through the Generation Z and millennials, and their chronic diseases are just as bad or worse than the Generation X or baby boomers. In some cases, way over. In terms of what you just mentioned. We live in, and I want to kind of go back a little bit to begin with, we live in a sick care system. And what has really made it even more of a challenge is this recent event with COVID. And coupled with COVID, we've had a very stern and I would say a wrong approach to how we've managed to deal with it politically. The lockdowns, bringing people to a halt, stopping their careers, forcing them to stay at home. It certainly has been a negative for sure.
Well, it's a huge mental health situation that we're going to have to deal with. Yeah, Paul, I mean, the fact that you were just mentioning COVID, that's a huge situation that occurred in our country. Obviously, that had a big impact on both physical and mental health, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, it's really brought people to the brink, essentially. It shut down businesses, it shut down lives, it put single moms who have children at home in a very precarious situation. And the only way that people are dealing with it is through drinking more alcohol, medicating themselves in other ways.
Right.
And of course, the psychotherapists are literally burdened to the point where they can't even make appointments. They're just overwhelmed.
Right. And I think I read that our suicide rate around teenagers is the highest it's ever been in our country, right?
It sure has. And I've heard of stories that have hit pretty close to home just recently. But, there's another approach to this, I think, and that is what's happening is we have a sick care system. We have COVID that has literally taken over. And if you notice, where's flu gone? That seems to be gone.
Right. We cured one thing, but I don't think we really cured it.
Well, I think that it's a takeover is what it is, but that's another conversation. But Here's my positive point. It's an inopportune opportunity and creates an opportunity for change. And I think that what happens is that in a situation like this, where we were so unprepared, people have lost their why. They have no idea where they're going at this point. Many of them, there are very few that do have that. And what's happening is that we have to now find a way to create a change and take a step back. First off, we should look at this lockdown and the situation from a bright side and use this as a time of self-reflection and self-improvement. And I think that's something that we can certainly help with. We have to step back. We have to look at where we're at. We must reduce our stress. The first thing before we start anything, before we make any changes in our lives, is that we have to first find a way to reduce stress. And this is not a matter of going back into our past and blaming ourselves for where we are at. It's a matter of a process. And we, by the way, use something that helps people deal with this through what's called neuroscience and particularly emotional brain therapy. We don't go back into somebody's past. We don't look at what's bothering them in other ways. What we do is we look at this from a very scientific perspective, something called brain states. And when you're in a brain state one, without getting too deep into it, when you're brain state one, you're calm, you're open-minded, you're relaxed, life is good. But as the situation begins to build in stress, we move into brain states 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 5 is where we get into that reptilian state. That's that limbic state of mind where our lives are out of control.
So, Paul, I got to ask for our listeners, it's so fascinating. I never even really knew that. We probably get into those states without really paying attention too much to where we are until we're at a state of almost, it sounds like, those final states, I think you said 4 and 5 or whatever, puts us in a state of anxiousness and almost like hopelessness.
That's
and
correct.
Then we're making ourselves probably physically ill. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. And you and I spoke about this. We have to be very careful of our thoughts because every cell in our body is listening.
I love how you said that. Yeah.
We have to take that into consideration. And I would love to say that to the audience again. We have to be very mindful of the thoughts that we have because every cell in our body is listening. If we have good thoughts, it will create a good situation. If we have negative thoughts, our body will follow. And,
wow.
Our body is a system, and it's the temple of our, it's the temple of our mind.
So what I hear you saying from a health guru standpoint that I love with your company and stuff is you're helping people realize what we often do from a sales standpoint is you're going to become what you think. If you have a very positive mindset, then that's better for your health. Is that right? And if you have a negative mindset, you actually can harm your health.
Oh, absolutely. It's a mindset. Definitely a mindset. And on top of that, that's where the holistic nature of what we're talking about comes into play. And, these next few moments that we're together, I would like to share that with the audience, at least give them some direction that would help them open up to the possibility of
that's fantastic. Well, we've got to take a quick break here for just a minute, and then we're going to come back after the break and talk about how everything that Paul was really doing and what his dream and vision is. We're going to make him tell us a little more about that on Health Six Fit, how that plays right into how we can be more accountable in our lives and really help others, right? So the whole point from being, to me, a moral leader and a Christian leader and a Catholic is that we are here to serve others and to be make sure we're taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of our brothers and sisters and our loved ones. So we'll be right back, Paul, right after the break. Hang on one second.
Carolina Catholic Radio is excited to announce an alliance with Lisa Feeley, author of An Accountable American. Her new book offers a blueprint to every person who wants to embrace how to be accountable. Learn how positively to impact your life and the lives of anyone around you. 50% of the book profits will be donated to a local 501c3 Catholic charity, including Carolina Catholic Radio and those affiliated with us. 2020 was a tough year for many people. Consider donating to charity by buying a copy of An Accountable American, just $20 on our website. Achieving accountability is a great way to start the new year. If you want to learn how to achieve enlightenment, peace, and prosperity, this is a great start. Now back to An Accountable Catholic Radio show.
All right, well, we're back. So I'm glad Paul is still here with us to talk about Health 6 Fit and the importance of health, including our mental health as well, in being accountable and living our purpose. I mean, that is really the purpose of tonight's show, is to help all of us think through why health and how it connects to living our purpose and using the talents God gave us, right? So, Paul, God definitely blessed you with some good talents on helping others to get healthier. Talk a little bit more specifically as to what you and your team are helping others. So if I go out and I get on Health 6 Fit, and I know it's a brand new company and you're doing a lot. Tell us about it in detail, if you will.
Well, I will. And while we are a startup, we've been in the last 6 years putting it out there with our chief medical officer's patients, and he's actually put this to use in his practice with hundreds of patients, and he's had tremendous success with it. And this is why we waited, so that we'd have enough information that makes sure that what we're doing works and the outcomes are good. And as I was saying, we start off with basically this. It's very simple. First, and before I get into that specifically, we live in a digital age, and people are getting a lot of stress from that. And what I want to tell people is that you can actually leverage technology as technology. I call it technology jujitsu. This is where you use it to power your advantage in helping yourself become a better person for it. And as it relates to health accountability, we have to take charge. We're at a time now where we have to carefully leverage that technology to improve our lives. And so what happens in the scheme of things is we focus on the 6 pillars of Health 6 Fit. We focus on helping people by starting with a health assessment, a holistic health assessment that focuses on their mental, physical, and spiritual aspects. We definitely recommend that they begin a gratitude journal every day, and that becomes something with which will help people get out of that state of anxiety and depression. We work with them to give them strength and energy to themselves. This is part of what we do. Our goal is to help them enliven their lives, to rejuvenate, energize their lives, and we help them basically begin to practice small, new, healthy habits. The biggest problem that's out there is there are 250,000 apps out there, and many of them don't work. And they don't really work because there aren't any health specialists supporting that. Our approach is that we provide our members with not only the Health 6 Fit program, but they get access to a team of experts in each one of these 6 areas. In neuroscience, which deals with stress, depression, and anxiety, even PTSD. We help them with healthy nutrition by teaching people to go back to the home economics approach, where they should be cooking with good food and get away from that processed stuff, because there's nothing nutritious about it. So we basically help them with what we call nutrition, N-E-W, nutrition. And our movement is designed to help people adopt fitness. So if, for example, they haven't done any fitness exercises, there's a good likelihood that they're extremely deconditioned. And by the way, the best pill is exercise. You have to move to live. Basically, that's it. And our movement primarily focuses on helping people with simple and easy to use exercises at home. They don't have to go to a gym. We can show them how to do that with body weight workouts or band workouts, something very simple. We teach them about the importance of supplements, but not just going to a local store, because those people are not trained enough. We have a physician on staff who will help them with they're making their decisions. Part of what we deal with. Fifth, we teach them about hormone balance. Big problem, because by the time we're 30 years old, we lose about 2.5 to 3% of our hormones annually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And sometimes faster if we're under stress. Now, if you go to a doctor, a traditional doctor, they'll say, oh, your hormones are normal for your age. Well, my functional doctor will say, why shouldn't your hormones be when you were 30? You're 60. Why shouldn't they be at 30? You're 50. Why shouldn't they be at 30? Because that's the natural. And sixth thing we do is we teach people the importance of knowing biometrics, their own diagnostics. And I'm sure you've heard of this. You do a lab test, you call your doctors, everything's okay. And you're looking at it and you don't know what's going on. But if you pull your car into a dealership and they plug it in, they'll spend 30 minutes with you going over the car and everything they found on the computer.
Right. And how it all interacts. I mean, that to me is the key part. And you said it earlier, which is what I'm all about and helping our listeners with is, guess what? Your stress really does impact your health and whether you're working out or not too, right? If you're just sitting all day and you have a negative attitude, that's a problem for your health.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And the fact is that what we do in teaching people, we give them a 52-week course. Week at a time, we show them how to do the tasks, we follow them, we work with them. And by the way, what we do is a very, very low cost. We're talking around $50 a year or 15 cents a day for this health and wellness. Yeah. Why? Because I have a big heart for people out there who are struggling and suffering. And we can demonstrate very quickly how healthcare doesn't have to be expensive. Self-care is where it's at. Selfhood is where it's at. And most importantly, wherever you are in this country, it's very, very important to create a holistic, communal healing approach.
Well, what I love what you do, and we'll show it to our listeners if everyone's kind of watching this, some of you might be thinking, well, I'm not quite sure how this all ties together, but the reason that I really loved what Paul was doing and I wanted to bring him on the show and introduce him and Health Six Fit is because we're so stressed in our country right now. I mean, I travel all the time. Paul travels all the time. We're running into people, all of us, we're all in this together, and we're running into people that are, everything is so divided and everyone's so angry and families are upset at each other. And that's impacting our health. And when that impacts our health, we're more negative and we just get in this, I think, Paul, I mean, I know you travel too, we get in this hopelessness situation, right? And then all of a sudden, like you said, hope you started all that, which I love, to really lift all boats, right? You're doing it from a health standpoint. I'm doing it from an accountability, trying to get people to have a plan. But to me, a health plan, your faith plan, and you said it, we're losing spirituality in this country. It's dropped tremendously from when you and I were kids. So when you don't have a good health plan for your physical and mental wellness, if you don't have a good finance plan, if you don't have a good faith plan, relationship with God, no wonder we're in the boat we're in right now, right? I mean, don't you believe that is all tied together, Paul, when people come to see you and talk to you?
No question about it. When I talk to God, I hear God tell me, heal thy people all the time. And, people spend more time on their financial planning, but they're not planning for their life plan. They're not planning for their health optimization. And, I think about this all the time, and I even get emotional about it because to me, what's most important is that if we're in the image of God, then we have to be the best image that we can possibly be.
Right. And we're called to take care of our body, right? Our body's supposed to be the vessel. And he gives us all these talents to do something. But if you're eating, I won't mention a certain company, but if you're eating 15 things of fast food a week, and you're not taking care of your mental health, especially in this whole pandemic situation, boy, that's tough. And I loved your program because it's really cost effective. I mean, it's not about the money, but it's about how many millions of people need help today. And you make it so easy and so wonderful on the new program you've designed.
Well, thank you. And if I may just add, we don't do this as a website, as we created an environment, a resort, and guys,
you just wait till you see this. It's kind of an all virtual which we're seeing a lot of in our world, right? People are used to more telehealth.
Yes. And, we take it steps ahead because most websites are built, with a little text and some video and then fill out this form. We want to create an experience for people so that when they come in and certainly take advantage of the community, that they want to be there. In fact, people are telling us I can spend hours here. Yeah. And, this is the kind of place it is. And we want to create this environment. And by the way, I want to go back for a minute. Yeah. We balance purpose with profit. To us, it's more important for us to focus on healing people and helping them. And that's the main component of
that's what I loved about what you were doing. Plus, again, just wait till y'all get a sneak peek. We're going to put some stuff up here shortly at the end of the video because I love it. It reminds me, and I work in healthcare, that where we can really, people are visual, Paul, and you know that. So if we can go into a really nice place, even though we don't have to be there physically, and get the help and feel like people are listening to us, and you've built up a great team.
Well, yes. And I'm sure that, and my team, by the way, says, they send their well wishes to everybody. When I mentioned to them I was going to be doing this, they basically were very happy. And they were basically saying this would be a good thing for everybody. And we would love to meet everyone and introduce the entire team to everyone at some point. So you see the real people behind the site, beside the site.
Yep. Yeah, we'll definitely have you on another show here in a few weeks to do that. That'll be great. So tell everyone, because we only got a minute or two left, tell everyone a little bit about the specifics and go ahead and read off your website and everything. And what we'll do is we'll be showing some of these pictures and how they get to you, Paul, and your team.
Sure, they can reach us at health6fit.com, and we have an alternate just in case they can't is fit.com. So we have two URLs just in case one gets hung up or something like that.
Until when you get millions of people hitting you, I know you're going to get busy. So tell us what we expect. So Lisa Feeley comes to your wonderful Health6Fit site. What does that experience look like?
Well, you and I talk about this, and it's kind of that old commercial, Calgon, take me away.
I love it. Yep.
And what we're here to do is basically take you away from, your day-to-day stuff and create a very, very nice, healthful, relaxing, fun, experiential environment. But on the real brass tacks, and what we do is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take a health risk assessment. And then we're going to work with you to set up your goals, and we're going to look at what is important to you. We're going to customize your experience, and we can do that. And then from there, we focus on a weekly program where every week for 52 weeks, we get into the specifics of Health6Fit on 8 levels. And so level 1 is the introduction. And by the time level 8 comes around, everybody's going to be able to sit down, talk to their doctors, and they're going to spin their doctor's head when they say, wow, you know more than I do, because they have to. And
so to me, you're really taking us through a full health journey. And I think that's what I felt you were very complimentary to what we're trying to do, because it's all about, again, being healthy so we can take care of our loved ones, right? And do our best for God. That's the bottom line for me.
Absolutely. And, I like what you said, health journey. We basically help people rewrite their health journey.
That's right.
That's what we do. And, with a great deal of spirit and God involved in this,
so this fits right in. We're going to go to church, we're going to be accountable, and we're going to be healthy. So we're going to go do Zumba classes. This is really a cool site for everyone to check out. And Paul is so innovative in healthcare and everything you've done, Paul. I really appreciate you joining us on the show today.
Thank you. And God bless you and everyone listening in.
Terrific. Well, again, we're going to put all this information up in a minute so you know how to find Paul and Health6Fit and check it out. But this is Lisa Feeley, your host for An Accountable Catholic. Thank you again for joining me. And please go out and be accountable and join us next Thursday night at 5 p.m. God bless. Have a great week. Thank you again, Paul.
Thank you.